Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. The meeting will be starting shortly. While we wait, let's learn more about Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
At least I've had the impression that we all kind of agree the one way is working, right?
Yeah. I'll talk about it in a minute. There's a couple, Jay Perkins has put in some input, and he put an email into the select board, and that's why one of the reasons I invited Nico here tonight, so he could talk about that, because he's talked to Jay, and I've read the email. I haven't really had a chance to talk to Jay because he had some family challenges.
Yeah, I haven't seen Jay in a month or two.
So, I like his idea. I think we should tweak it a little bit, I think, but...
I'd be curious to hear what you're thinking.
I think there are a lot of options to consider, and some are easier to accomplish than others because of legalities. But, speaking personally for myself, I would just like to make it as equitable for as many citizens as possible, and try to come up with some sort of a compromise where, everybody can enjoy it. I come personally, earlier this year, I was all for keeping it closed because I thought it worked well. But then when I started speaking with folks who can't utilize it when it's closed, and we started to see that,
Okay.
our door system.
That's
I'm not sure, do I knock on the door or
Just bang the gavel.
just bang the gavel? All right, it's 5:30 PM and I want to open up the Swasey Parkway Trustee meeting tonight. Thank everybody for coming. We'll do introductions. To my right is Dave Short, member of the committee, and I'm Dwayne Staples, chairperson. And we also have an invited guest tonight, the select board chairman. So I'm going to open up for any public comment at this point.
Oh, no.
Good evening, Mark Amsel. Just briefly, I'd like to just touch on, I'll back up a little. Thank you for your service to the Parkway. I just briefly want to touch, I see it's in the agenda tonight, about the road. I think we've all had some challenges when it was closed, now that it's open one way. Myself personally, having lived next to the Parkway my entire life, I used to like driving into town, but now I have to drive out of town to go through the Parkway. I believe the way the Parkway is one way now, it has dramatically slowed down the traffic cut through. I've heard there's been some discussion about a turnaround, some other things, a sidewalk, possibly another sidewalk. I think with it being open the way it is now, we've all compromised. I think it's, again, I don't want to keep on saying this again, it has definitely slowed down the traffic where you don't have the two-way traffic. I think we've all compromised, and I think keeping it open, myself personally, to the vehicular traffic is a good option for everyone. It's a win-win situation. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to get to that discussion in a minute, but first I want to, we need to approve some meeting minutes. The meeting minutes of 10/20/2021. Have you had a chance to read those?
Was I at that meeting?
No, you were not.
I wasn't.
So we're going to need to put those off.
Right.
And the meeting of November 19th, you weren't at that one either.
No, that was still in my dad's.
Yep. And the one thing that I can do, I have the meeting on 10/26, which was a site walk meeting that was scheduled for the people that wanted to put a bid in on the Parkway maintenance. That meeting did not happen. It was raining that day. I did go down, waited around for about 45 minutes, and nobody showed up in the pouring rain. So that meeting did not happen. But I needed to make sure that I told people that because it was posted on the webpage. Okey doke. So we're going to move on to the Swasey discussion, the next item on the agenda. And I wanted to discuss the roadway, and that's why I invited the select board chair, because in looking at their package from their last meeting, I know there was a letter from Mr. J. Perkins in there about some ideas, and I know that this has been an ongoing topic at the selectmen's meeting, so about people, and I understand people have their own opinions about this, whether to shut the road down, whether to keep it open, keep it one way. But I'd like, Nico, if you would talk about some of the things that Jay Perkins has suggested to help with challenges that there may be with the roadway down there.
Sure. Good evening. For the record, I'm Nico Papakostan-Dees, and I'm chair of the Exeter Select Board. I want to thank you, Mr. Chair, for extending the invitation this evening. As you know, the Select Board back in the spring of 2020, with the emergency order issued by the governor, closed the parkway to vehicular traffic so that folks could enjoy fresh air, exercise, and safe social distancing. Upon the ending of the emergency order from the governor in June of 21, the Select Board eventually had to reconsider the matter because, again, with the emergency order being closed, legally, there was no reason to keep the roadway closed to vehicular traffic. And ultimately, through discussion over the summer, and I know the trustees were involved and came to some of our meetings, we came up with opening the road one way, and the Select Board would have the authority to do that because it was for public safety reason, and that the roadway had been closed for over a year, people were enjoying it, and we felt, and I think you all agreed, that to open it to two ways would have been a safety concern. The Select Board have heard both in public hearings and also through emails from folks throughout the last 2 years, some in favor of keeping the roadway closed to traffic and some wanting to reopen it two-way, one-way. And we've had discussions throughout the fall when it's on the agenda for the Select Board meeting Monday night, January 3rd. I think that the board wants to continue discussions with folks, with the trustees collaboratively, to try to come up with options. What can be done, what cannot be done, and how long would it take and how much would it cost? From a personal standpoint, as a citizen, I was originally in favor of keeping it closed. I thought it worked well, allowed people the opportunity to enjoy it. But then the more I talked with folks in town, there are certainly a lot more than I thought that were not able to enjoy the park because they could not get in. So there are a lot of options. One is to keep it as is. One is to close it entirely to vehicular traffic. We've talked about a roundabout so that it would be open for a short period, closed. But you have to look at, is it feasible to do that from an infrastructure standpoint? And also, is it feasible legally? And these are all different options that we're looking at. So recently, I walked the parkway with Jay Perkins, the highway superintendent from the Public Works Department. And I think that in his email, you'll see some of his suggestions, but it's been suggested from an infrastructure point, if you're looking at the new fields entrance, to do a roundabout there may not be possible. And, Mr. Perkins can speak to that more in depth. That's his area of expertise. But in explaining it from an infrastructure point, it may just not be possible to build that, okay? So then if you look at the Water Street entrance, you have a couple of different things that could prohibit that, or at least delay it. One of it is that on the water side, that's LWCF land. So we would need to go through, town would need to go through that process. Also, because of the water, you would need to get permits from the state, and that could take time. So while I know folks are excited and anxious to do something, I think we need to consider all of the options so that we, number one, are doing what we can do legally, and from an infrastructure point, have it be possible. One suggestion is to keep it as is in one way and put down speed tables. And, I think with the traffic already being one way, that has decreased speeding. But I've still heard from citizens who have indicated that there are people speeding. So the speed tables would not be like speed bumps, and they would be agreeable to plows, to emergency vehicles, but they would give drivers pause to slow down. These are the same speed tables that you'll see on Lincoln Street by the school. And, those have worked well to keep people from speeding. There have been some who have suggested that they may not be safe for bicycles or strollers or such. I don't know the answer to that, but I would think that there are bicycles and strollers and, wheeled objects like that probably go to and from Lincoln Street. And I haven't heard of any problem there. So certainly that's something we can look into, but I think that the speed tables would be a good move. Those are very inexpensive too. I was told that it would approximately cost a couple of $1,000s to put down the speed tables. Another option would be if you're coming in from the Newfields entrance on the right, to go in 5 feet, and again, we'd have to have this conversation with the trustees, but to go in 5 feet and lay down additional sidewalk so that you'd have sidewalks on both sides. Granted, there are some parts of the roadway where you won't be able to put a sidewalk, but maybe you could put a crosswalk and then go up and then come back. And again, that would have to go to town meeting because of the cost, but the cost would probably be, the estimate I got was $50,000 to $60,000. So, those are some options to keep it one way, to decrease speeding, have folks enjoy it, let people be able to drive in and park for those that can't walk in. Again, that's just another option. So it is on the agenda for the select board meeting Monday night. We've invited the trustees if you'd like to join us. But that's basically where we're at. We'd love to get more public input. But I think at the end of the day, at least for me, I'd like to see the most number of people enjoy the parkway as possible. And yes, it was great when it was closed, and I'd be the first one to say that I enjoyed that. But we have to look at what's best for the entire community. And, there may not be one best idea, but certainly if we discuss options, get feedback from people, and also realize that, even if there was a warrant article that passed to close the parkway to traffic, there are still some legal procedures that you have to go through after that. So it's not just a done deal there. So that's why I just think it's healthy to have the conversation, continue discussing options. And, one may not work. You can go back to the drawing board. But I think, obviously, just to allow as many folks as possible to enjoy it. So I don't know if you have any questions or...
I don't really have any questions at this point, but I do have some comments. Do you have any questions?
No question.
Dave?
One comment, but I'll wait for you.
Okay.
All right.
The speed table, and maybe Mr. Damsel could help me out. I know that they had some type of speed bump table in there years ago. I know at Riverwoods they tried speed bumps, but they went to the speed tables. That should certainly slow down the traffic, and I think that for people that still think that traffic goes a little bit too quickly through there, that would be a viable option. I've thought about the sidewalk idea on the other side of the street. I do like that to a point. I think, though, there needs to be some talk about maybe a hybrid sidewalk, like you said, not in every section. I also like the idea that the lady had called in when we met the last time about maybe having a strip painted along the curbing there, and I think for me to have that and the sidewalk have a hybrid model, because certainly I wouldn't want to see a sidewalk across from the pavilion. I think that whole green space should stay green space. So, for me, I think that the options that have been discussed are still on the table. And I think that, we should look at those. And again, I was a big proponent of opening it up and one way, and I do think that it opens up to a bigger section of the town and people that come into town than just by closing it off. So those are my comments on that. Dave?
Yeah, the sidewalk idea doesn't appeal to me, especially if it's a hybrid. Because if you could have people kind of zigging in and off the pavement, either they're on the pavement all the way, drivers are aware of that, or they're on the sidewalk all the way. I think you're setting up the potential for driver confusion by having people stepping on and off at various sections, and the cost. To me, that it's just not worth it. From what I've seen down there, the one-way is functioning very well. It's surprising how little traffic there really is, and whenever I've been down there, I haven't seen anybody speeding, but, you know, speed for a couple $1,000 for some speed tables, now that seems like money well spent. And then the other thing you could do is, instead of a hybrid sidewalk type setup, do down the right-hand side a painted strip the whole way, and have that be the bike walking path that's on the roadway. Like, you know, you'll see in Portsmouth, say. They've tried to do that. In Boston, Boston has it. Inexpensive, but gives some definition between the two. So speed tables, potential lining of the roadway, to me, would be the most cost-effective and probably effective way to do it, and I believe keeping it one way makes all kinds of sense.
Yeah, I think the challenge, and everybody here, including Mr. Damsel, would agree that part of the challenge is we have a sidewalk that people have gotten used to walking from Water Street down to Newfields Road. It's walking back from Newfields Road to Water Street. And I think that's part of the challenge when we talk about a sidewalk, or they talk about hybrid. I mean, I like the idea of the painted line. The more I thought about it after that lady brought it up, similar to what they've done in some of the ice rinks by painting an orange strip along the boards to try to help prevent injuries. So, I think all that should be on the table, and I think we can, all come to some type of consensus as to what we may want to see done down there so we can present it.
Yeah, I think closure should be off the table.
I agree.
That to me, because I think all of us agree that it cuts off a certain group of the citizenry from being able to utilize the park. So that, to me, that's not an equitable thing to do.
So, I plan on attending the select board meeting on Monday, and I know that Darius Thompson had let me know that he would be there, and again, we can be involved with that discussion when it comes up. So, do you have anything else on the?
No, I wanted to thank you, because I failed to bring up the striping, and again, I agree with Mr. Short, and again, the sidewalk is just something to consider. It's not, but I think to your point, sir, the striping can be done very quickly by our own public works.
Right.
They've done that in other neighborhoods. I mean, that could be done tomorrow.
Right.
Same with the speed tables, and it's minimal cost. Our own staff can do that. And I think that, what we all agree on is that, in addition to making it equitable, we want to keep it safe.
Right.
Right, safety.
Right.
At the end of the day, that's what we want and need, so.
In fact, I would consider it to be very safe at the moment, and these would, to me, these measures would be just safety enhancements.
Enhancements, correct. Correct.
Because I don't really think there's an issue right now, but you're going the extra distance to make the probability of a conflict even less.
Right.
So.
Great. Thank you.
So, if you want to stay right there for a minute, because the next thing, well, just to, I have the LCWF on the agenda. I talked with Greg Bisson, and I just want to make sure that I get this all correct, because I know that Nico has talked with Greg also. So, the LCWF, and actually, you alluded to that, it's not the entire parkway. It is from Water Street to where the outlook of the flag is, down, if you came from Water Street, the right-hand side. So it encompasses the pavilion all the way to that outlook where the flag is. It is not the entire parkway. The entire parkway could be put under that. I asked that question if we wanted to. We could also take that portion out. The funds that have been talked about that the town got, or received, it was for improvements for a park, and yes, there was supposed to be a kiosk down there. In researching this, Greg Bisson, the rec director, found that there's limited paperwork at the state level. Most of that is in Washington on microfiche, and they're not doing anything with that right now because of COVID. What he could find out through the state was that, yes, we did get funds. The whole kiosk item was amended twice, and it was amended a third time, and it was decided that the town would pay for that. That's correct.
That is correct.
So the funds were spent for the park improvement that they were spent on, or the parks improvement. There were overruns, and ultimately it was up to the town to pay for the kiosk. So I just wanted to make sure that I brought that up, because that is the information that I found out from Greg. So if there's any questions on that?
No, but I actually have something else too. You done with that one?
Yeah.
The granite posts on that guardrail that got hit by the car, where's that stand?
I can talk to that.
Yeah, because that's kind of fallen off the radar, except for...
Not really.
Well, for people...
I contacted a contractor who was getting pricing on the granite posts. Those granite posts are a little odd, so it took a while to get the pricing.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to submit that to the insurance company, and then we can move forward with that.
Okay. Because
So-
I've had a few people ask me about that, and
Yep,
I didn't know the answer.
yep. So it's, again, it's one of those supply things.
Okay.
Okay, so any other questions on, or anything further on the Swasey discussion?
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I just want to mention all the options sound very well. I do am in favor of the speed tables. The other crosswalk, if it would be in the green space, I'm not in favor of. I have thought this thoroughly. I totally agree with a striped, some type of line on that left-hand side. I think when the road was closed, people were using the park as a loop. I still see people using it as a loop and walking in the road. So if we had some type of a stripe with a pedestrian sign painted in the road, I don't know if it'd be a 4-foot. I don't know if it'd have to be a whole painted line going the whole way, maybe some X's. And I think it's still in discussion, but I would rather see that than a new sidewalk in the green space. I agree, with Dave that there hasn't been as much speeding, but I'm not down there 24/7.
Right.
And the traffic has decreased quite a bit.
Right.
But I think if we had somehow, with the least minimal amount of money spent, with some type of striping on that left-hand side heading out of town for pedestrian bicycles, that it would be, again, the goal we're trying to achieve is safety down there, and for the public still to have it open to be able to drive in and use it.
And you know what, let's get away from the striping and all that. Let's, for a better term, let's talk about some type of delineation along that.
Yep.
That way, people aren't, it could be striping, it could be X's, it could be, the painted people walking there.
Yeah.
But it's a delineation so that people don't get hung up on and thinking that, we're just going to do a striping or we're going to do.
Right. No,
So
that's a good point.
We're going to look at some type of delineation and have that conversation.
Like in a lot of towns, you have the road, and then you have a special spot for the bikes or
Right.
the walkers and stuff. There's a lot of big towns that have
Right.
it. It's down in Boston, it's in Newburyport, it's Portsmouth. So I think there is a solution. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Okay. So I'm sure this conversation will carry on Monday night also. Next item on the agenda is the tree work specs document. We don't have a final draft of that. Mr. Thompson was working on that, so we're going to need to hold off on that.
Can you have him email that out when he gets it done?
Sure. I think the only thing that we were waiting for is to make sure that the insurance requirements matched what the town puts into their bid specs.
Yep.
So I will touch.
Because we had pared it down to a couple pages, I think.
Yeah, I think actually 1 page or a page and a half.
Right,
So,
okay.
So yeah, I will touch base with him. Now we're down to any other business. I think the only other business would be to pick the next meeting, and if we want to do that tonight, or do you want me to reach out to Mr. Thompson also with all of us and pick a meeting in January?
Yeah, I want to get the contractor online though for doing the tree work down there.
Okay.
This is the time of year to be doing that, or we're heading into it.
I agree. All right, let me reach out to him, and then I will set up a meeting
Yeah, and then
with us to go over that.
and then we'll get some invitations out.
Yep.
And get a invited list of contractors down there to take a look at it.
Okay. The only other thing that, I apologize, the only other thing that I would have is we did do the maintenance bids. We did only have one bid. It was the contractor that is currently doing the pricing went up a little bit, but when I looked at it, I personally felt that it wasn't bad. It's well within the price range. So the contract was awarded. In all of our documentation, he was supposed to be contacted November 30th, which I did, and told him that he had the bid for 2022. So that's been done.
Yeah, he's done a good job.
Beyond that, I have nothing else. Anything else from the public or Mr. Chair? Okay.
I make a motion to adjourn at
Second,
6 o'clock.
all in favor? Aye. So we We adjourn at 6 PM. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Now, don't you wish select board meetings were that quick?
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 98 and 22. Channel 98 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 13, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.